Prepare ye the way of the Lord. Prepare ye the way of the Lord. Hello. It is very possible that we have not met before. I'm the new guy, the new Minister for Youth and Young Adults, Jimmy Barnett. My wife Michelle and I live in Richfield with our puppy, May. Here she is, being very cute. And we're happy to be here at St. Stephen's and look forward to the day when we can spend quality time with you in person. This Sunday in Advent is a little different than the others. We light a rose-colored candle instead of a purple one. This third Sunday marks a near middle point in Advent, and in the middle of a penitent season, a contemplative season, a reflective season of waiting, we have Gaudete Sunday. Gaudete means joy. When we look at the readings for this Sunday, we notice that theme. As we heard in Isaiah, I will greatly rejoice in the Lord. My whole being shall exult in my God. And as we heard from the Magnificat, my soul proclaims the greatness of the Lord. My spirit rejoices in God my Savior. And again in Thessalonians, rejoice always. We rejoice for the coming King. A different kind of king than the Jews and even Jesus' disciples had in mind. Not a king of military power and might, but one of love and peace and unity and joy. Not only are we waiting for the coming of baby Jesus, but we are anticipating the second coming of Jesus, the Christ, our Savior. Waiting is tough. Waiting is countercultural. We need 2-day shipping. We need fast food. I want it now, sings Veruca Salt in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And we want to proclaim the pandemic is over. We have a vaccine. Yes, the vaccine is coming, and we rejoice in the hope that it brings, but we must remain vigilant. There is still work to do. There is still waiting to do. In our waiting midway through Advent on Gaudete Sunday, we celebrate. We rejoice knowing the promise that our King is coming. His incredible grace and love has set us free on the cross, and he is coming again to unite all people. In today's gospel, we hear again John the Baptist preparing the way, proclaiming the coming Messiah. As Missy suggested last week, we are also called to prepare the way. How are we preparing the way? How are we actively spreading this joy, the good news of Jesus' saving power? How are we expanding our beloved community beyond the walls of St. Stephen's? One of the most eye-opening things about the pandemic for me is to see that church buildings are closed, yet God is still so good and constantly at work in the way God's people come together, organize, and share resources. How are you uniting, sharing, preparing the way, and spreading joy? On the other hand, for many, this may seem like a tall order given the pandemic we find ourselves in. What does it look like, and what does it mean for us to rejoice in a time when we cannot physically be with our loved ones, when people are losing loved ones, when people are sick, when people are out of work? It's not easy to take time to choose joy in a difficult situation, so I want to share with you some of the things that have been bringing me joy. I hope they can be helpful for you. I've been experiencing joy and doing a lot of laughing in our Zoom staff meetings, in our Sunday morning live peace gatherings, in Sunday night youth group with the 10th through 12th grade, and the Wednesday night youth group with 6th through 9th grade. This week is our last formal week of youth group before the winter break, and we're going to rejoice. We're going to play games and celebrate and laugh. Doing that with our youth and with our adult leaders and youth leaders has brought me great joy. Another thing that brings me joy is art. There have been a few moments since the pandemic hit Minnesota last March when I was feeling, well, without joy. And I realized I had not purposefully listened to music in quite some time. When I do, I feel an immediate uplifting of my soul. And we are very blessed at St. Stephen's to have the quality of musicians that we do that bring us beautiful music week in and week out. You might also find joy in other forms of art. Speaking of John the Baptist, I would be remiss if I didn't mention that I'm a Johnny. I'm in my last year at the St. John's School of Theology and Seminary. St. John's University in Collegeville, Minnesota is also home of the St. John's Bible, as well as, I know, the Episcopal House of Prayer, which is wonderful, and if you ever have the chance to go on retreat, I highly recommend it. But the St. John's Bible, if you aren't familiar, it is handwritten and hand-illuminated, filled with captivating images that are meant to help us draw out more from the Scriptures. You may have noticed some of these illuminations on the wall in the conference room in the background of Missy's sermon last week. Thanks to technology, I can share one of these illuminations with you. I thought this one of St. John the Baptist would be appropriate. This is depicting the baptism of Jesus, which coincides with the beginning of the Gospel of Mark. I'll read you part of the description. In the immediate foreground, John the Baptist sees bright yellow blooms and green plants. The flora reflect another passage from Isaiah. The wilderness and the dry land shall be glad. The desert shall rejoice and blossom. Like the crocus, it shall blossom abundantly. This is a result of Christ entering the world. As he continues to gaze back, John observes Christ, whom he has just baptized, standing in the center of the Jordan River. Christ is cast in gold, which is reflected on the top of the water. The crowds from the Judean countryside and Jerusalem surround him. So, whether I'm laughing with you on Zoom, or listening to the beautiful music from Clark or Brian, or reflecting on illuminations or icons that move me to deeper understandings of God's love, it is when I choose joy during this pandemic that I am then able to recognize how thankful I am for all that God has given me. Then I remember God's incredible mercy and grace, and I rejoice. So, I'll close with a reimagining of today's gospel. There was a person sent from God, and that person was you. You came to testify to the light, so that all might believe through you. You yourself are not the light, but you came to testify to the light. Prepare ye the way of the Lord. Prepare ye the way of the Lord.